Welcome back to our chilling series exploring the haunted corners of history, where the past refuses to fade quietly into oblivion. In this seventh episode of Most Haunted Civil War Sites in the United States, we delve deeper into the shadowy battlefields, crumbling fortresses, and historic homes that bear witness to one of the bloodiest chapters in American history. The Civil War, a conflict that tore families apart, claimed over 600,000 lives, and left scars on the nation's soul, continues to resonate through time, not only in history books but also in whispers from beyond the grave. From Antietam's blood-soaked fields to Gettysburg's haunted hills, these sites are more than just monuments to a bygone era. They are portals to another realm, where the echoes of cannon fire and cries of the fallen linger long after the last soldier has fallen silent. These places are steeped in tragedy, sacrifice, and unrelenting sorrow, making them fertile ground for ghostly legends and paranormal encounters. Every groan of ancient wood, every flicker of candlelight, and every chill in the air serves as a reminder that the spirits of those who fought and died on these grounds refuse to be forgotten. In this episode, we'll journey to some of the most infamous haunted Civil War sites across the United States, places steeped in lore and fear, where the veil between the living and the dead seems perilously thin. We'll peer into the shadowy depths of battlefields soaked with blood, explore eerie hospitals where wounded soldiers drew their final breaths, and tread cautiously through plantations and prisons teeming with restless spirits. Along the way, we'll hear first-hand accounts from witnesses brave enough to confront the unknown, examine chilling evidence captured by paranormal investigators, and unravel the tragic histories that give rise to these hauntings. So dim the lights, keep your ears sharp, and prepare yourself for a descent into the macabre. As we step into the haunted heart of America's Civil War history, remember, sometimes, the most terrifying truths lie just beyond the veil, and once you cross it, there's no turning back. Gettysburg Battlefield, a haunting legacy of sacrifice. Few locations in the United States carry the weight of history quite like Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, a sprawling battlefield forever etched into the annals of American memory as the site of one of the Civil War's bloodiest engagements. Over 3 days in July 1863, Union and Confederate forces clashed in a brutal struggle that left an estimated 51,000 soldiers dead, wounded, or missing. While the Battle of Gettysburg marked a turning point in the war, its legacy extends far beyond military strategy and political significance. Today, the battlefield is renowned not only as hallowed ground but also as one of the most haunted places in the country, where the spirits of fallen soldiers continue to march, fight, and mourn. One of the most pervasive legends tied to Gettysburg involves the Devil's Den, a rocky outcropping that served as a strategic position during the battle. Known for its treacherous terrain and fierce fighting, Devil's Den became a killing field where hundreds of men lost their lives. Visitors exploring the area report hearing faint echoes of artillery fire and the clanging of bayonets against stone, despite the absence of any reenactments or live demonstrations. Some claim to see shadowy figures darting between boulders, their movements jerky and unnatural. Others describe feeling an overwhelming sense of dread when standing near the rocks, as though the chaos of battle still reverberates through the air. Another prominent figure in Gettysburg's haunted lore is believed to be the Black Widow Bride, a spectral woman clad in mourning attire said to wander Cemetery Hill. According to local legend, she searches endlessly for her fiancé, a Union soldier who perished during Pickett's charge. Witnesses describe seeing a pale figure standing atop the hill at dusk, gazing toward the battlefield below. Her silhouette is often accompanied by the sound of soft sobbing, carried by the wind. Paranormal investigators have captured EVP recordings suggesting the presence of a female entity whispering phrases like, "Where are you?" and "Come back to me." The battlefield's triangular field, located near the base of Little Round Top, has also gained a reputation for paranormal activity. Historical accounts indicate that the field was the site of intense hand-to-hand combat, leaving countless bodies scattered across the landscape. Employees tasked with maintaining the area often describe hearing muffled voices and the sound of footsteps echoing through the grass, though no one else is present. Objects are known to move inexplicably. Tools vanish only to reappear hours later in entirely different locations. One particularly unnerving incident involved a park ranger who swore he saw a group of shadowy figures huddled together in the corner of the field, their faces gaunt and hollow. Theories abound that the field harbors residual energy from the unspeakable violence inflicted upon its soil. Modern-day investigations into Gettysburg's supernatural claims have yielded intriguing results. Thermal imaging cameras reveal significant temperature drops in specific areas, including Devil's Den and Cemetery Hill. Electromagnetic field (EMF) meters register unusual spikes, particularly near antique cannons and memorials believed to mark mass graves. Perhaps the most compelling evidence comes from audio recordings, which capture disembodied voices uttering fragmented sentences like, "Help us," and "We're still here." Despite, or perhaps because of, its haunted allure, Gettysburg continues to draw tourists and historians alike. For those brave enough to tour the battlefield, the opportunity to encounter its spectral inhabitants adds an element of excitement and trepidation. Whether you're drawn by the allure of its historical significance or the weight of its tragic legacy, Gettysburg promises an unforgettable experience where the line between the living and the dead blurs, and the echoes of yesterday linger just beyond reach. Antietam National Battlefield, blood-soaked ground nestled in the rolling hills of Sharpsburg, Maryland. Antietam National Battlefield stands as a haunting testament to the single bloodiest day in American history. On September 17, 1862, Union and Confederate forces clashed in a brutal engagement that left nearly 23,000 soldiers dead, wounded, or missing. While the battle itself marked a pivotal moment in the Civil War, its aftermath has left an indelible mark on the land, a scarred and solemn landscape where the spirits of the fallen seem unwilling to rest. One of the most enduring legends tied to Antietam involves Burnside Bridge, a narrow stone structure that played a critical role in the battle. Historical records indicate that Confederate sharpshooters stationed along the ridge above the bridge inflicted heavy casualties on advancing Union troops, turning the crossing into a deadly bottleneck. Visitors exploring the area report hearing faint echoes of gunfire and the anguished cries of soldiers pleading for help. Some claim to see shadowy figures crouching behind stone walls, their forms illuminated briefly by flashes of light resembling muzzle blasts. Others describe feeling an icy draft pass through them, as though the cold hands of death still linger in the air. Another prominent figure in Antietam's haunted lore is believed to be Clara Barton, the legendary nurse and humanitarian who tended to wounded soldiers on the battlefield. According to eyewitness accounts, Barton worked tirelessly under harrowing conditions, providing aid to both Union and Confederate troops. Paranormal investigators exploring the property have captured EVP recordings suggesting the presence of a female entity whispering phrases like, "Hold on," and "I'm here." Witnesses describe seeing a translucent figure moving through the cornfield, carrying what appears to be a medical kit before vanishing without explanation. Some speculate that Barton's spirit remains tethered to the battlefield due to her unwavering dedication to saving lives, even in the face of overwhelming odds. The battlefield's bloody lane, a sunken road that became a killing zone during the battle, has also gained a reputation for paranormal activity. Historical accounts indicate that thousands of soldiers fell within this confined space, their bodies stacked several layers deep. Employees tasked with maintaining the area often describe hearing muffled voices and the sound of footsteps echoing through the grass, though no one else is present. Objects are known to move inexplicably. Tools vanish only to reappear hours later in entirely different locations. One particularly unnerving incident involved a volunteer who swore he saw a group of shadowy figures marching in formation, their uniforms tattered and stained with mud and blood. Theories abound that Bloody Lane harbors residual energy from the unspeakable violence inflicted upon its soil. Despite, or perhaps because of, its haunted allure, Antietam continues to draw tourists and historians alike. For those brave enough to tour the battlefield, the opportunity to encounter its spectral inhabitants adds an element of excitement and trepidation. Whether you're drawn by the allure of its historical significance or the weight of its tragic legacy, Antietam promises an unforgettable experience where the line between the living and the dead blurs, and the echoes of yesterday linger just beyond reach. Andersonville Prison, Shadows of Despair. Located in rural Georgia, Andersonville Prison stands as a grim reminder of one of the darkest chapters in Civil War history, a sprawling stockade that housed over 45,000 Union prisoners of war under deplorable conditions. Established in February 1864, the prison quickly became notorious for its overcrowding, lack of adequate food and water, and rampant disease. By the time it closed in April 1865, nearly 13,000 prisoners had perished within its confines, leaving behind a legacy of suffering and despair that continues to haunt the site today. One of the most pervasive legends tied to Andersonville involves the ghost of Captain Henry Wirz, the prison's commandant who was executed for war crimes following the conflict. Historical accounts suggest that Wirz oversaw the brutal operations of the camp with little regard for the welfare of his captives. Visitors exploring the site report hearing faint whispers emanating from empty cells, accompanied by the sound of chains rattling. Some claim to see a stern figure clad in a Confederate uniform pacing anxiously near the guard towers, his expression frozen in perpetual irritation. Others describe feeling an oppressive weight pressing down on them, as though Wirz's guilt lingers in the air. Another prominent figure in Andersonville's haunted lore is believed to be James Rowland, a Union soldier who succumbed to starvation and dysentery during his captivity. According to local legend, Rowland's body was buried in an unmarked grave outside the prison walls. Paranormal investigators exploring the property have captured EVP recordings suggesting the presence of a male entity whispering phrases like, "I can't breathe," and "Let me go." Witnesses describe seeing a pale figure crouching in the corner of darkened rooms, his skeletal frame illuminated by moonlight before vanishing without explanation. Some speculate that Rowland's spirit remains tethered to the site due to the injustice of his untimely death, while others believe he seeks acknowledgement for his sacrifice. The prison's burial grounds, now part of the Andersonville National Cemetery, have also gained a reputation for paranormal activity. Employees tasked with maintaining the area often describe hearing muffled sobs and the sound of footsteps echoing through the rows of headstones, though no one else is present. Objects are known to move inexplicably. Flowers placed on graves vanish only to reappear hours later in entirely different locations. One particularly unnerving incident involved a volunteer who swore he saw a group of shadowy figures huddled together in the corner of the cemetery, their faces gaunt and hollow. Theories abound that the burial grounds harbor residual energy from the countless funerals conducted in haste, leaving behind unfinished business for those interred beneath the earth. Modern-day investigations into Andersonville's supernatural claims have yielded intriguing results. Thermal imaging cameras reveal significant temperature drops in specific areas, including the stockade and the cemetery. Electromagnetic field (EMF) meters register unusual spikes, particularly near wooden posts and markers believed to have been used during the prison's operational years. Perhaps the most compelling evidence comes from audio recordings, which capture disembodied voices uttering fragmented sentences like, "Help me," and "Remember us." Despite, or perhaps because of, its haunted allure, Andersonville continues to draw tourists and historians alike. For those brave enough to visit the site, the opportunity to encounter its spectral inhabitants adds an element of excitement and trepidation. Whether you're drawn by the allure of its historical significance or the weight of its tragic legacy, Andersonville promises an unforgettable experience where the line between the living and the dead blurs, and the echoes of yesterday linger just beyond reach. The McCulloch House, elegance entangled with tragedy perched atop a hill overlooking Wheeling, West Virginia. The McCulloch House stands as a haunting monument to the personal toll of the Civil War, a stately mansion that once served as a refuge for Confederate sympathizers during the conflict. Built in 1859, the house exudes an air of refined elegance, with its sweeping verandas, ornate woodwork, and panoramic views of the Ohio River. Yet beneath its polished exterior lay a darker narrative, one marked by betrayal, violence, and untimely deaths. One of the most enduring legends tied to the McCulloch House revolves around Elizabeth McCulloch, the daughter of the home's original owner. Historical records indicate that Elizabeth fell deeply in love with a Union officer stationed nearby, defying her family's staunch Confederate loyalties. When news of their clandestine relationship reached her father, he forbade the match, prompting Elizabeth to flee the house in despair. She was later found drowned in the nearby river, her body bruised and battered. Since then, visitors to the house report seeing a spectral figure perched precariously on the balcony railing, gazing downward as though contemplating a leap. Others describe hearing faint sobs carried by the wind, accompanied by the splash of water rippling against the riverbanks. Another prominent figure in the house's haunted lore is believed to be Colonel Thomas McCulloch, a fiery advocate for the Confederacy who led guerrilla raids against Union forces. According to local lore, Colonel McCulloch was ambushed and killed by Union soldiers during one such raid, his body secretly buried on the property. Paranormal investigators exploring the house have captured EVP recordings suggesting the presence of a male entity whispering phrases like, "retreat," and "hold the line." Witnesses describe seeing a shadowy figure pacing anxiously near windows, clutching what appears to be a sword before vanishing without a trace. Some speculate that Colonel McCulloch's spirit remains tethered to the house due to his unresolved vendetta against the Union. The McCulloch house's basement, once used for storage and hiding supplies, has also gained a reputation for paranormal activity. Employees tasked with maintaining the area often describe hearing muffled voices and the sound of footsteps echoing through the cavernous space, though no one else is present. Objects are known to move inexplicably. Tools vanish only to reappear hours later in entirely different locations. One particularly unnerving incident involved a maintenance worker who swore he felt cold metal cuffs snap around his wrists, pulling him backward toward the darkness before releasing him abruptly. Theories abound that the basement harbors residual energy from countless secret meetings and covert operations conducted during the war. Modern-day investigations into the McCulloch house's supernatural claims have yielded intriguing results. Thermal imaging cameras reveal significant temperature drops in specific areas, including the basement and the balcony railing. Electromagnetic field (EMF) meters register unusual spikes, particularly near antique furniture pieces believed to have belonged to original occupants. Perhaps the most compelling evidence comes from audio recordings, which capture disembodied voices uttering fragmented sentences like, "I'm sorry," and "let me go." Despite, or perhaps because of, its haunted allure, the McCulloch house continues to draw tourists and history buffs alike. For those brave enough to tour the facility, the opportunity to encounter its spectral inhabitants adds an element of excitement and trepidation. Whether you're drawn by the allure of its architectural grandeur or the weight of its tragic legacy, the McCulloch house promises an unforgettable experience where the line between the living and the dead blurs, and the echoes of yesterday linger just beyond reach. As we traverse the haunted landscapes of America's most notorious Civil War sites, from the blood-soaked fields of Gettysburg to the somber prison walls of Andersonville, striking similarities emerge that transcend individual locations and histories. These patterns are not merely coincidental but reflect universal themes of human emotion, unresolved trauma, and the enduring power of memory. From the wailing echoes of battlefields to the shadowed corridors of historic homes, these sites share a commonality that binds them together in a spectral sisterhood of sorrow and suspense. One recurring motif is the concept of unfinished business. Whether it's the victims of brutal warfare or the betrayed trust of loved ones torn apart by conflicting loyalties, these spirits seem tethered to the earthly realm by grievances left unaddressed. Their presence manifests as restless energy, often communicated through auditory phenomena, cries, whispers, or disembodied voices, that serve as pleas for acknowledgement or closure. This theme resonates across cultures and belief systems, reflecting humanity's innate need to resolve conflict and seek peace, even in death. Another shared characteristic is the role of architecture and landscape in amplifying paranormal activity. Historic battlefields, with their vast open spaces, dense woods, and hidden ravines, create environments conducive to isolating individuals and heightening fear. These natural features act as metaphors for the psychological barriers erected by those who suffered within their confines, trapping emotions such as anger, despair, and regret. It's no coincidence that many reported hauntings occur in spaces imbued with emotional significance: trenches where soldiers dug in for desperate last stands, bridges where ambushes claimed countless lives, or fields where mass graves were hastily dug. Lighting and sensory manipulation also feature prominently in these narratives. Flickering lanterns, sudden temperature drops, and inexplicable odors are staples of ghostly encounters, designed to disorient and unsettle. Such phenomena strip away the comfort of familiarity, forcing visitors to confront the unknown. The use of mirrors, a recurring element in stories from various haunted homes, adds another layer of psychological tension, as reflections distort perception and blur the boundary between self and other. This interplay of light and shadow becomes a tool wielded by unseen forces, creating moments of visceral terror that linger long after the initial shock subsides. Finally, the prevalence of historical context cannot be overstated. Each site's haunting is deeply rooted in its unique past, shaped by the socio-cultural milieu of its time. The brutal realities of war embedded in the DNA of older battlefields contrast sharply with the glamorous yet tragic lives immortalized in urban legends. Yet both narratives tap into broader archetypes of ambition, betrayal, and mortality, ensuring their resonance with audiences regardless of personal experience. By drawing on these universal motifs, these haunted places transform from mere locations into living repositories of collective memory, inviting us to peer into the abyss of our shared humanity. Thus, while each establishment boasts its own distinct flavor of fright, the underlying threads connecting them reveal a tapestry rich with meaning. These patterns remind us that the supernatural is not so much about the entities themselves but the stories they tell, the echoes of lives interrupted, passions extinguished, and truths obscured. As we continue to explore these haunted locales, we find ourselves grappling not only with the specters of the past but with the timeless questions they raise about life, death, and everything in between. The psychology of fear. Why haunted Civil War sites captivate us? What is it about haunted Civil War sites that grips our imaginations so profoundly? Beyond the rusted cannons and weathered headstones lies a deeper allure, one rooted in the psychology of fear and the human fascination with the unknown. These sites, by their very nature, are places of vulnerability. They are where we confront our mortality, stripped of autonomy and control, relying entirely on the expertise of others to heal us, or failing that, to ease our passing. When these spaces become haunted, they amplify our primal fears, transforming familiar settings into arenas of existential dread. The combination of historical context, architectural design, and the lingering presence of past suffering creates a perfect storm of terror that resonates deeply within us. The core of this captivation is the concept of liminality, the state of being on the threshold between two worlds. Haunted Civil War sites exist in this liminal space, bridging life and death, victory and defeat, hope and despair. This inherent duality makes them fertile ground for supernatural narratives. Ghosts, as manifestations of unresolved trauma or unfinished business, embody the tension of being caught between states. They serve as reminders that the boundaries we construct, between life and afterlife, loyalty and betrayal, are far more permeable than we'd like to believe. For many, visiting a haunted battlefield or plantation feels like stepping into a twilight zone where the rules of reality no longer apply, igniting both curiosity and unease. Architecturally, haunted Civil War sites contribute to this atmosphere of dread through their design. Long, desolate roads lined with identical headstones create a sense of disorientation, while dense forests and echoing valleys heighten sensory awareness. These features mimic the psychological effects of anxiety and claustrophobia, making even mundane sounds, a distant bird call, the rustle of leaves, feel ominous. The labyrinthine layouts of older structures, with their hidden wings and underground tunnels, evoke feelings of entrapment and uncertainty. Every corner becomes a potential threat, every shadow a possible harbinger of danger. This environmental manipulation taps into our instinctual fight-or-flight response, keeping us perpetually on edge. Cultural influences also play a significant role in shaping our fascination with haunted Civil War sites. Media representations, from films like Cold Mountain to television series such as Mercy Street, have cemented the trope of the haunted battlefield or plantation as a locus of horror. These portrayals often blend historical truths with fictional embellishments, creating a mythology that blurs fact and fiction. Audiences are drawn to these stories because they reflect societal anxieties about institutional power, systemic injustice, and the fragility of the human mind. Haunted Civil War sites become microcosms of larger fears, the loss of agency, the misuse of authority, and the haunting specter of mistakes made in the name of progress. Moreover, haunted Civil War sites appeal to our desire for catharsis. Engaging with these tales allows us to process our own fears about mortality, injustice, and the flaws inherent in systems meant to protect us. By confronting ghostly apparitions and unexplained phenomena, we externalize internal anxieties, transforming abstract fears into tangible adversaries. This vicarious experience provides a safe outlet for exploring the darker aspects of human existence, offering both thrill and relief. It's no wonder that ghost tours and paranormal investigations of haunted Civil War sites attract participants eager to test their courage against the unknown. Ultimately, the enduring allure of haunted Civil War sites lies in their ability to mirror our deepest fears while challenging our understanding of reality. They remind us that the past is never truly buried, that pain and injustice leave indelible marks on both people and places. As we walk their haunted grounds, we are forced to confront not only the spirits said to inhabit them but also the ghosts within ourselves, the regrets, doubts, and unanswered questions that linger long after the wounds have healed. In doing so, we find a strange comfort in knowing that we are not alone in our fears, that others have walked these same paths and emerged, shaken but alive, to tell their stories. As we bring this chilling journey through America's most haunted Civil War sites to a close, one thing becomes abundantly clear: the spirits of the past refuse to be silenced. Each creaking floorboard, each whispered name, and each fleeting shadow serves as a testament to lives lived, lost, and lingering in the spaces we dare to call haunted. These stories are more than mere campfire tales. They are fragments of history, stitched together by human emotion, tragedy, and the relentless passage of time. They remind us that the line between the living and the dead is far thinner than we might believe, and that sometimes, the most terrifying truths lie just beyond the veil. But why stop here? If these accounts have stirred something within you, a spark of curiosity, a shiver of excitement, I urge you to take the next step. Visit one of America's haunted Civil War sites yourself. Walk the same fields where soldiers once fought and fell, stand in the rooms where families hid from advancing armies, and let the unknown brush against your senses. Whether you're a skeptic seeking proof or a believer eager to commune with the other side, these forsaken grounds offer an unparalleled opportunity to confront the mysteries that lie just beyond comprehension. There's nothing quite like experiencing the weight of decades-old despair firsthand, feeling the chill of a presence that defies explanation, or hearing the faint strains of voices from another time. And when you return, share your story. Did you feel the icy touch of a ghostly hand? Hear the faint echo of cannon fire in an empty field? Or perhaps nothing happened at all, but isn't that silence just as intriguing? Your experiences add to the rich tapestry of lore surrounding these haunted places, ensuring their legacies endure for generations to come. Share your findings with fellow enthusiasts, document your journey, and keep the conversation alive. After all, every whisper contributes to the symphony of the supernatural. Until then, keep your lanterns lit and your courage steady. The spirits are waiting.